Welcome back to S&B Gang. I'm with the family once again. We're here, we're there, we're everywhere. And today we are at the family house once again. We're gonna introduce everybody so you get to everyone. We got new people here, so we're gonna start this way once again.
Big Russ, known as Pops.
Nora, Mom.
Tay, big bro.
Christine, baby.
Jolene or Auntie Lee.
Bo, co-host.
Janasia, older sister.
And then you got me.
Hey, Granny.
Ellen.
What?
And the Grammy, the Queen Bee. The Queen Bee.
Takes her glasses on her face.
Absolutely.
The Queen Bee. Well, the topic of conversation today will be colorism and a little touch of racism. We're gonna be asking our grandma, our moms, about the time she grew up, and the area she grew up, and the time she grew up, to when she met my grandfather, and how that was for her, and things of that nature. And if you got any questions, just throw them in there. We're gonna get down to the conversation for real. Well, we're gonna start with you. Where did you grow up at?
5 blocks from here.
5 blocks.
I'm here to work on Scott Street.
Scott Street. Where part of town is that in?
Fillmore.
Not far from Tyler.
So the Fillmore area.
Fillmore area.
I also heard you grew up in San Jose. Did you not grow up in San Jose?
What's the
Not-
grow
not
up in one
really.
place?
Cause, Mom and Daddy moved up here.
A lot of her family is there. She spent a lot of time in San Jose.
Okay.
A lot of my that side of the family is definitely still down.
So you were born in San Jose and moved out here.
Now I was born
Out here.
here.
Okay.
They were living in, were they living in San Jose then? And you were born here, isn't that? I think they were living in San Jose, but she was born here. And then shortly thereafter, if I'm not mistaken, they moved here. Because I've asked before.
Okay. So how was going to school and things like that when you was growing up?
I never really had a problem because I went to school with the same kids all the way through.
Through elementary, high school, and middle school?
Mhm.
Most definitely. So how did you feel about the racism and things of that nature in that area? Did you get any
yeah.
havoc about that?
So yeah, I had one little boy call me a white nigger. He called Judy, my sister, a white nigger. And I can't hit the dark side of a
She
bus.
said, if y'all didn't hear.
No, you're annoying.
I'm just saying.
And I was wearing a pair of roller skates. And I reached down and picked one up and threw it and
Clocked him.
Here for it.
Clocked him.
hit it right in the middle of his back.
Like that. Don't you come up
And I
here
know
with
it's
that.
heavy.
Don't you come up.
And normally I cannot hit what I aim at.
But you hit
She
that.
hit that
You hit
day.
that for
It
sure.
hit
him that
Most
day.
definitely. Most definitely. So when did you meet Poppy?
At City College.
City College?
Told me that's the first time we saw her.
What was that? Your freshman year, sophomore year,
Freshman.
year? How did y'all become to meet?
Maxine,
Maxine?
my friend Maxine, introduced us.
Right.
So what was your first,
What was her race?
She's black. And darker skin.
Darker skin.
Okay.
so what was your first impression on Poppy when y'all got introduced?
Well, he was big, cause he was a football player. And he had a couple of his other football player friends that I knew. Guy Whitaker and who else was
Yeah, most definitely. So how long were you guys friends before you guys got intimate and things of that nature?
let's see. was like the summer of '60, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. That long was easy.
How
That's
long
all
was that after
37
you
years
met him?
before I was born. That's crazy.
How long was that after you met Bobby?
They met in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the summer,
And that's when
That's all.
in the cafeteria.
That's what you told me. That's where you first saw her was in the cafeteria.
So did he come up to you? Like he liked you, or did you
Yeah,
come up to
he
him?
No, he
Oh.
came up to the table.
Okay.
Maxine had set all this up.
All right, that's what she said.
Yeah.
Maxine introduced y'all, so.
So he just came up to you, was like, "Yeah, I like you. I think we should go out."
Yeah, how was he? Was he raising it up?
Did
Did he have some game or was he with Maxine?
Did he have a little bit of
Or
rest?
was Maxine, this is my friend?
Can you be the sunshine in my window?
Was he a man about it?
Maxine probably said, this is my friend Doris, this is my friend Ernest,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
She stayed off.
Take it from there, Mike. Take
Like,
it from
girl,
there.
I'll be back.
Most
Now
definitely.
you're on your own.
So did he want her to introduce you, or did Maxine just decide that y'all needed to meet?
Like, did you feel Poppy was all over you?
Like did Poppy say, "Hey, Maxine, introduce me to your
Hook me up,
friend,"
Yeah, hook me up to your friend.
or did Maxine say, "Ooh"?
I don't know.
How you
Oh, I'm
know?
not. Look now.
Now-
Look,
So
now
you-
I call him
you-
now I gotta go ask you back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grammy, so was it like this? You seen Poppy, it was like, I gotta have him.
Who's
Or
that tall
was
person over
Poppy,
there?
was it a mutual thing? Was he on some, how did he,
How
Y'all
did
met
he
at
pick you out of
60?
every?
We got questions,
y'all met
Randy.
in 60
Give us
and y'all
the
got
information.
intimate in 60. Y'all was
No, she
feeling each
didn't
other.
say that.
No,
She
she
said they
didn't
met in 60.
Oh,
Summer 1960.
You are not gonna
Hey,
dirty this.
it happens to the best
Oh, we
of
gonna
us.
get to all that. We're gonna get to all
So
that.
they were together what, 7 years before?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, Uncle. No.
Uncle before.
I'm trying to see what Poppy game was like.
I heard the Oliver boys
I
got it
am
though.
too. I am too.
So, you guys met at the lunch table, and then
Yeah,
did you
what?
guys okay, exchange numbers? Did y'all just did Maxine keep happening to introduce you guys or bring y'all together? How'd that
Yes,
work?
she did. She stayed on.
She
He
stayed
stayed
on.
on it. huh?
Ah,
He
okay.
interested.
Okay.
You wanna
I
know.
can see what football game comes. You're going to football game. We got to go. Come to the football. Ernest
Well,
playing.
Maxine and I and a couple of our other girlfriends were cheerleaders.
Oh.
okay.
So he was a football player. He was like,
Yeah.
I need that
I
cheerleader.
see. I see.
Most definitely.
So
That's awesome.
Most definitely.
That's awesome.
Made him a cheerleader.
All right, and y'all were, you guys were in college at that time, so
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm. So
you
you
guys were a
still,
little older.
were you still living
So
with
it
Gigi
wasn't
mom,
teenage-
or
it
did you
wasn't
guys have your
teenage.
own spot?
After you, hold on.
still living at home.
Still living at home.
After you met him though, was he like? Cause I know after college, you guys are grown. Were y'all going out to eat? Were y'all all like group going out,
Yes,
doing things?
we were
So y'all
going
had a lot of time
to the
to.
professional relays and
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
right.
y'all was
That's right.
traveling.
yeah.
So you guys were hanging out before you guys got into a serious relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how they said it's supposed to start. You're supposed to start out as
I
best
wanna
friends
know.
and then move on to something more.
Yeah, so y'all.
So how long were you guys friends before he asked you or you asked him to be each other's girlfriend and boyfriend?
You know, I really don't remember how long it was.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ask you? Or did you ask him?
He asked her.
He asked her.
Good.
He
I
asked
don't
you?
know, I'm just saying that.
Or was it just like a mutual thing? Did y'all just feel like that's what it was? Everybody
Yeah, that's
knew
just about.
Doris and Ernie was a thing.
No, my mother made him ask.
Oh.
You want to know?
We must definitely want to know.
Well,
But
technically
it
it's
was
not
definitely
officially till you
mutual.
do.
It was mutual.
Y'all feel like
Yeah.
it had to
Okay.
happen back in those times?
Yeah, because he was already,
Football player, cheerleader.
It had to happen.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Okay.
This time y'all hung out, you know what I'm saying?
You guys hung out.
I know Bobby has some game.
So once y'all started dating, did you feel any type of different vibe once you started dating him? Like, did anyone come up to you saying negative things?
Yeah, one of the teachers would say,
Mm-hmm.
It was like that.
What did she say?
Too.
he
What did he say?
didn't say anything to me. He says, talking to her.
Do you have any idea what he said to Bobby?
I don't remember how that
Mm.
long time ago.
And in them times,
it-
was it actual racism? Like,
Yeah,
if Poppy
was
said
it-
something back to him, it was a bad thing going on.
I'm sure he said something back to him.
Most definitely. I don't see why he wouldn't.
So it was,
You know
it was,
he
a,
wasn't
it
gonna
was
settle
a colorism or a racial comment?
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna settle.
And back then, was it okay for the racist stuff to be going
Oh,
on?
yeah.
Oh, okay, so.
This was the 60s too, though.
And we should
That's what
clear
I'm
up that
saying.
my
This is
father
60s too.
was a very dark-skinned man,
Tall.
Big.
Tall, 6 foot football player for sure.
statuesque.
Most definitely. Most definitely. All right, so you guys start dating out, going out, and you know you had different vibes once you guys got together.
Okay.
So you got a taste of that once you guys got together. So when you guys start going out in public, did you get anything like, did any strangers come up to you and be like, oh, you're not supposed to be
Nah,
this, that?
I don't see
No.
that happening. Poppy was tripping.
I think Bobby
I don't think that was
his
gonna
side
happen.
would deter that.
Most definitely.
They don't know that he was a teddy bear. They don't know that.
Yeah,
They just saw 6'2" black man.
Black man, for
I
sure.
feel like Poppy is sock something too.
Oh, of
He
course.
would snatch me up on time.
He would.
Poppy socked me in my
That was
When he
the
got
time
up,
he
when
did it.
you, oh my
You
god.
remember he pieced me.
Oh my god, he got a
He
so
was
quick,
quick,
bro.
quick too.
Oh my
Quick,
goodness.
I didn't even think he was.
Oh my goodness. He said,
He was quick with it too.
I'm like, wow.
He
I'm
for
like,
sure
wow.
like, oh, this today's the day. I'll let you know.
Okay, so you guys are dating for a minute now. Did he bring you to his house first, or did you guys go to your house first to meet the parents?
He was in my house.
You went to your house
Papa
first?
John,
You
he
gotta
did not
go
like
to
that.
her house first. You know,
Papa
that's
told
fine.
me he didn't play that.
Yeah, you gotta
So how did they take that when you told them that you was going out with Poppy, or when you brought him to the house?
Fine, there was no problem.
No
That's
problem.
his daughter.
Mm-mm. And that's nice to hear though, because back in them times, you bring somebody like that to the house is, what you doing, bro? Like we don't do this, and no, I'm just saying, in that type of,
I'm
you
gonna
know.
be honest with you.
When one of my mother's, Miss Aunt Lillian was a cousin. She was what I would describe as a red bone.
Mm-hmm.
She saw a picture of me and this guy that I had known since grammar school,
Mm-hmm.
Also a dark skin.
also
Mhm.
dark skinned. I went to his junior prom with him,
Mm-hmm.
and she almost had a hissy fit. Who is this?
Your aunt? It was your aunt?
A cousin.
A cousin. A
Cousin.
cousin.
Older cousin.
But she was mixed.
Yeah, because you say she was a red bone, right?
Well, I said that I don't know what she was.
Right.
Mm.
But
Was she full?
he's gonna ruin our color line.
Oh, that was just.
Oh,
Yeah, he almost threw her out the window.
Oh, wow.
Papa Joe didn't play.
Papa Joe wasn't playing that.
Papa Joe didn't play. Papa Joe didn't play.
Dang.
Most definitely.
Furious.
So how was it meeting Daddy Man and all of them? Was it a very interesting moment? How did that go?
That was a beautiful moment.
Okay.
They were all so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, when I first met Ernie's mom, Aunt Lulu was there. I'm trying to remember who else was there. But there were a couple of us, the sisters,
Mhm.
And Hazel.
and they could do that.
See?
They were all very, very nice to me.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Right.
I got a question. Did you when you after you guys met each other's families? How did you like the food? Like the food
Oh,
difference?
yes, no problem. Agreement.
You gotta
Those
remember.
women could cook, honey.
I'm telling you, I could already tell. Like,
And then
you
did
was
they have, like, family
in
dinners
love.
and things?
They over here cooking
That he
it up.
invited
Yeah, like the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
we everybody ate at the Olives
Most definitely. Most
for
definitely.
the holidays.
Oh, still.
Right.
So
Boy,
Huh.
still going.
yeah, we still going. That's mama phone.
Oh,
Yeah, we going. So you guys are going now for a minute. How old do you guys think you guys was? You guys got married 21, right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
21.
21 is crazy.
It's a young one.
21 is crazy. So you guys are getting. So how did the proposal go? How did that come about?
We were sitting in the car in front of Mama's house,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked me if I'd marry him, and I told him yes.
Oh, what's the other
But
side?
he had already gotten an offer for the 49ers farm team,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted him to move to LA. And I told him I wasn't moving to LA.
So how did that change the course of the relationship after you told him that?
It did.
It didn't?
He didn't go.
Okay.
Yeah, no choice. Like, you don't want to have a wife or you
Right, nah, I say,
Cause that's mama.
There's no choice.
It made grandmother like me even more because she didn't want
She
me to
didn't
go.
want me to go, yeah, she didn't want to
Yeah,
go, she didn't leave, that's right.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
That
crazy.
makes sense.
That's crazy. So he got an offer, played for 49ers. So at that point, were you guys living with each other, or you guys were still at your guys' houses?
I was just staying with my mom. He was supposed to take care of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Did he
how?
have a ring when he asked you?
Hmm?
Did he have a ring when he asked you?
I mean, Maxine had already got me a ring.
No, that's a best friend though. She might make
That's
that's a best friend.
I feel like
I'm gonna talk to my godmother. We have to have a conversation.
I feel like you're kind of stepping over your boundaries.
No. What I feel like is we have a whole nother podcast coming.
Oh
A
yeah.
whole nother vlog, because we got to get Auntie Mac over here to tell her side of the story. The whole side of the story.
Who's that? Auntie Mac?
Auntie
That's
Mac,
my godmother.
you'll know
That's
her
Auntie
when
Tony?
you, no.
Oh,
Mac.
okay.
Maxine, where I get my middle name
I
from.
think I met her. She's lighter.
She's the
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
She's the older light
A
skinned
little
lady.
darker than us, but she has long, pretty hair.
You named her.
You'll know her when you
She's
see
still
her.
in
She stays in
San
San
Bruno.
Bruno, but you'll know her when you see her.
Really?
She used to come by.
Name my first kid after you. That's the real definition.
She was at the wedding.
I remember her. I do remember her.
I thought she had a show memory.
You'll remember her when you see her.
That's a real best friend. That's crazy. So how did she know to bring the ring at the right time?
She already knew
They
that.
talked about it, I'm sure.
It was.
Maury.
I feel like
It was
it probably was
orchestrated.
already.
I can see that.
They was rocking
I can see
probably
that.
tough by then. Back then was different too.
So Maxine, so again, Maxine and Daddy had this all set up,
At this point, it sounds like.
pretty much.
They went to a pawn shop. I don't know who found the rings, whether it was Ernie or Maxine.
That's actually pretty clever though, because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have let them into another store to buy one around that time.
Just back then.
Mhm.
So I feel
That
like
was their
he
best
had a
shot.
lot of- He
That is
really
amazing.
was. He wanted that. I feel like he went crazy. No way around it.
That is something.
He knew what he wanted.
That's crazy. So you guys got married. Did you guys have a big church wedding, or
Yes,
was
we
it
did.
everybody was there? That's
Sure.
crazy.
Right, yeah, she was a picture.
There was a picture
Oh, yeah.
on that radio.
There's one picture too over there.
I don't like that.
And that radio
You guys
cost
got
a
the
lot of money.
No,
If
this
it
was
weren't
before that.
Oh, I'm
This was
tripping.
way before that.
that thing cost 100,000 or something.
Yeah, it was a beautiful wedding. They have some beautiful pictures from that wedding.
I gotta see those. I gotta see.
I mean, I just like back in that time when everybody was like everybody was cut. And yeah, everybody was just tight. Everybody, your hair was whipped, your clothes was whipped, you know, everything was nice.
Yeah, I was out there back
Your
then.
hair
That's
was
what I'm
just,
saying.
you know, everybody had your quad.
Totally a
Not the
difference.
90s,
It was
but-
so different back then, like literally, great grandmother used to iron her sheets.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
I do remember that.
No,
Like,
for real. They would
they
iron
really
tablecloths,
ironed- they ironed
they would
everything.
iron sheets, they would iron the cloth napkins, like they
Ironing
were
my
just
uniform was a
real
lot of shit.
and proper.
They used to have, Grammy used to have every table
Had
set
the
already
children,
before.
Come on now.
sheets,
That part didn't.
That uniform.
definitely.
But you used to have every table with plates and plate table.
Everything had a match for sure.
China,
Napkins.
they had
So just
China.
imagine
China set.
if you guys had been around when we were having dinners at Gigi Mom's house, it was kicked up a
Yeah.
whole other
Yeah.
level.
I think
Yeah,
we
you had to
didn't
learn.
have
That's how you
dinners
learn.
at
That's how you.
before.
But now,
I'm
back when we were
talking
kids.
China, I'm talking,
Yeah, you go all
you know,
out.
the best crystal glasses,
Like them
fancy,
china-
the
look like the
little
China-
fancy
China
gravy
cabinets
boat.
were like-
Silverware,
remember-
silver trays
Right.
and goblet,
When
like
they had
the
China
whole-
cabinet, they really used their China.
That
They
was the
used
China
it.
cabinet.
Yeah,
from-
they
from
used their
Gigi Mom's
China.
house.
For real?
And
It was full of
I mean,
China.
it was a whole other, it was
Even
a
my grandmother
production.
was like that.
Like literally, we would start a couple of days before, we were polishing
Mhm.
silver.
That's
And
why
they really had silver spoon
Yes.
and knives and forks.
They over there in the
Real
drawer.
silver.
old school.
Yeah,
Now that's crazy. Eating with
That
silver,
stuff
real
you gotta
silver
keep
is
Real
crazy.
silver.
You
Yeah.
gotta
That's when
keep
you learn how to eat, eat from the outside and then
Mhm.
which silverware, which spoon to use, which fork, because she would teach you all those manners.
we had to
Y'all
know.
You
taught
learn
us
from
too.
Gigi Mom.
elbows
They-
off the table.
Yeah.
But they taught us not what I'm hearing. from
Even
Gigi
one
Mom.
hand, y'all used to be on this.
No, we learned all of that. The whole napkin and the lap, the whole, yes. Which
Y'all
cup
had
is
us on that
yours?
too, though.
They used to take us to very high end,
Club
affluent
meetings and stuff.
restaurants and hotels, and we had to know how to eat and how to.
It's giving
We
material.
had to learn how
Colors
to
and things of that, yeah.
It is giving material,
eat
girl.
chicken leg with a
Absolutely.
knife and fork.
Eat a
And
chicken
clean
leg
the
with knife and fork.
bone.
Oh,
And
There was
clean the
no
bone.
picking up the chicken
No.
fingers.
Was that just for you
Not-
ladies,
not-
or was that for everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody gotta have table manners.
I'm not
That
saying
shit
that,
ain't
but
allowed.
this-
I'm picking that chicken. I'm
Because
picking that
you
chicken.
just didn't want to be out there and be that black family. You couldn't do it, so we had to be perfect.
Yeah.
With the fork.
How to hold a fork, cut a steak. use a
That's probably
knife
because in
properly.
public you got to. Not everybody ate like that. Everybody used to eat at the table. We didn't start eating
Like, this
and
is-
separately
yeah.
until we was older.
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
sure y'all had us at the table
Every day, every night.
every
Yeah.
night. So we already understood the manners. No elbows on the table.
All right, so you guys got married.
Everywhere we went.
Slurping, sipping, all them extra noises.
He proposed. You guys got married.
Vegetables first.
So at this point, were you guys living with each other? After you guys got married?
Got married,
Mhm. And where was you guys living at this point?
in a little other alley street called Rogers.
This is in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What area was that in?
Trying to remember. Natoma,
Oh,
around in there.
like I seen they told me around 6th Street.
Sammy Joe's folks
Natoma.
lived around in there somewhere.
So,
That's
like
the
downtown.
mission, the mission,
That's like downtown.
towards downtown?
No, it was,
Natoma was like downtown. I believe.
Rogers Street, I guess.
mm-hmm,
RODG or ROGER.
I seen Natoma.
Rogers.
Okay.
Roger.
Somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, that's 7th Street. That's downtown. That's like by 7th Street.
I think they said that's like 3 minutes.
Yeah, one of them little alleys.
Yeah, that's like
10-minute drive.
Nina Street is over there. In Larkin, Laskin.
What is that? Is that the area of Tenderloin?
I live over there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Tenderloin, it's on the other side of Market.
Okay. So you guys living down there? Y'all was out of school by this time too?
Yeah,
Out of school?
he was going to
San
San
Francisco State.
Francisco State.
Mm-hmm. And what was you doing for work?
I was working for the feds.
For the feds.
That was nice money, I bet.
She's a federale.
For the government. Most definitely. So you guys are dating, you guys are living with each other. What was the conversation like when you guys talked about my mom and my auntie? How did that come about?
Your mom and your auntie.
Mm-hmm.
About having kids.
Yeah, about having kids.
Well, both of us wanted kids,
Mm-hmm.
and we had already discussed discipline and not arguing in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really good.
And things of that nature.
Things of that nature. There we go. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So you guys talked about discipline and how you guys were gonna raise the kids when you have the kids.
And Ernie already knew that he had a son and we discussed that.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So,
How did you feel about that?
yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Well, I wasn't happy about it, but I was glad that he was owning up to it
This is before you, or this is
before we got married.
okay, okay. And that's my uncle Ronnie. If you guys are wondering
Yeah.
who the kid is, that's their brother. So we going down the road.
That's my uncle, that's their brother.
That's their
Not his, that's my uncle, that's their brother.
You can have it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's how you would say it. It's like, yeah.
Y'all folks. Y'all over.
So after that, you guys knew about Uncle Ronnie and things of that nature. So you guys go down the line and have Aunt Celine. How was that? How was having Aunt Celine and raising the daughter?
Wonderful.
What were some of the perks to that right there?
Well, having a child of my own,
Mm-hmm.
that was amazing.
And you guys were still living in the same area when you had Aunt Celine? Or did you guys move?
I think I didn't really move
To Bryant
over
Street.
the Golden Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Golden Gate or Bryant Street?
That's what I
Golden
said.
Gate, I remember. Ernie walked me up and down for I don't know how long, because somebody told him if I walked a lot,
Deliver, have a, yeah, I know.
they would become faster.
Right.
I don't know if it works or not, but
I said,
Is there any
but you
questions
did
you wanna
take a
ask?
couple walks.
So where you said on over near Golden Gate? Where was I didn't know about that.
yeah, a friend of mama's owned an apartment building over there.
Okay. Oh, Broderick. Okay, I remember. Okay, Broderick. Okay, and then when did you move over to over onto Bryant Street?
After that,
So how old was I?
you were
I know I was
walking.
young
You were walking.
because
Just starting to
I have no memory of Broderick.
So like a year old.
Okay.
We're 3 years apart.
3 years
She's
apart.
3 years older than me.
Okay, you didn't have to do that right there. Like, you didn't have to do. So 3 years, Aunt Celine.
Older.
As you just stressed, right?
So you guys have Aunt Celine, and then we go down 3 years, and you have my mom.
And she had the best thing that ever happened to her.
Right.
You sure it wasn't Uncle Ronnie?
You see where he at?
Look,
You
look.
see where he at?
Look what she doing. I hit you in the head with
And
the
things of
fan.
that nature.
And things
You
of
about
that
to
nature.
get- you about to get fanned.
Now let me stop playing.
Wait.
Let me stop playing.
Oh.
Let me stop playing. Let me stop
You
playing.
should get along with Uncle Ronnie's mom. I don't know what her
That's
name
a
is.
great question.
Yes, she did. Yes, she
That's a
did.
great. I don't see it.
No,
I'm with-
We had no problems. Ronnie didn't like it
Oh, really?
Why he
Like
didn't
who?
like it?
because we talked to each other.
Because he couldn't play the two against each other.
Okay, makes sense. Makes
Anyway.
Yeah,
sense.
they played cards. They were good
Oh,
friends.
okay.
Yeah, the two couples, because she had a husband, at some point a boyfriend and a husband,
It was-
and they played cards together and
Okay,
had parties
cool.
together.
Don't ain't no beef for nothing.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
like,
No, get down.
she was
It
like
was
our
back in the
life.
day.
yeah, it's normal
They wasn't
life.
gonna leave no kids.
Every kid had to be taken care of.
Everybody was
Like
cool
that.
with it.
No.
Most
That's
definitely.
actually really smart, because
I
nowadays
like how
people
back
like
in the day was.
the baby mothers, they always get
Hit heads,
into
it's
it,
over
and
with.
it's just like,
It's over with.
No, it was not that type of situation.
So we moved 3 years down the block, and you guys decided to have another kid. And
And
that's
greatness happened.
You said about racism, because Grammy life.
this is, but we are.
I had
we
a
are- we
baby
are-
before Joey. He didn't live though.
Mhm.
Is that right?
So you guys had my mom. Were you guys still living in Golden Gate, or did you guys move again?
No, I think he was still on Golden Gate.
No,
No, you have me on
No.
Bryant
he
Street.
was on Bryant
He
Street.
was, that's right.
No.
Okay. So when did y'all move to Wiley?
When I was 2.5.
2.5.
In 73, I think it was.
70.
So
Yeah.
So you,
50 years or
your puppy had,
50 years or
how do you say it? Is it interracial kids?
No,
Mixed
that's-
kids?
Huh?
Is it mixed kids?
No.
'Cause
Technically she's black, right?
who, Grammy?
Yes.
Grammy girl?
Yeah,
Okay.
Grammy's black.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
She mixed with
Just
like
very light.
Hawaiian and some German.
Grammy had, like, when we did a DNA test on, an ancestry test on Gigi Mom,
Mhm.
I mean, she had Indian, like Native American, she had black, she had Asian.
European, Southeast Asian, European.
Yeah, she had all kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
she-
no,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We got this, 'cause we mixed with some.
Okay.
You guys are mixed with American Indian, I know that.
Oh, so Uncle Frank wasn't tripping.
No, you guys do have
We
American.
got something mixed with us, 'cause look at my hair. My hair is like.
yeah, grandmommy grew up on a reservation.
El Brillo.
I just backed it up. I just backed it up.
I was told that grandmommy grew up on a reservation, so when Daddy Man met her, she was on a reservation. So we do have
I said that too.
a lot of American Indian in us on the Johnson side, big time.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So you guys have kids. How was that time when it came to
Glorious.
the racial,
Well-
the racial situation in that time? How was that?
It was
Having two
kinda-
light-skinned
It was
kids.
kind of mixed up because every Christmas we would, I take kids down to Sandy Claus
Mm-hmm.
at the Emporium, and we walk up and down Margaret Street, singing and holding hands. And people would look at us,
Listen.
look at us like we were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We got really weird looks.
You mean you a poppy?
Or is it just you taking them to?
Me.
Oh,
It
you
would be
did
mommy,
say
it would be
children.
mommy and sometimes mama would be with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, some of the children,
And
okay.
Jane.
And then Jane.
I see.
And all of them are very fair skinned.
Mhm.
And then you have me and Nora.
Most definitely. So I'm trying. How does it feel
What's
for
going
y'all?
on?
I know you guys are at a young age, but how did you feel that coming off to mom, to Grammy, her mom, and then your auntie?
I think I can speak for me, Jolene, I have to speak for her. I would think I was so young, I was aloof to it all, like I didn't know
Really understand
anything.
what was okay.
I
And
didn't
we didn't make a
understand
big deal of it.
any
Okay.
of it. I just knew that she was my mom and that was my grandmother and my
At the end
Aunt
of the day,
Jane.
it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Most
And
definitely.
that's all that it was for me.
How was it for you? You were a little older by this time.
Where I finally started feeling the tension, the racial tension.
Mhm.
People kept thinking that my mother was white was when I got to school. But kids are cruel.
This is
Kids
all.
don't
This
say
is
anything.
through every stage of school, or just
Yeah.
one particular.
It started early. That's when I started having fights in school because I was a very quiet person. Very introverted
Mhm.
in school, but it was not. Back then, your mama, anything about your mama, that was
It was over.
just
Oh
set
yeah,
me
it's
off.
that's the first thing
It was
everybody
fighting
coming for.
Most definitely.
So, out of maybe, I think at El Dorado, I think I probably got into maybe 3 or 4 fights. I would
Mhm.
say out of the 4, 3 of them were because they were saying things about my mother.
Mm.
And mommy would always be like, you don't have to protect me, it's not about
It's not-
that.
yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, it is. And they won't be saying anything about you ever again.
They are going? That you was getting fights with?
Yeah, it was always a black female.
Mhm.
The boys didn't bother me because they all knew my cousins, they were not gonna bother me.
Mm.
But the females just thought they could step to me and just say whatever they wanted to say because I was quiet, and they didn't realize, I could take it for so long, and then I would just
Snap.
and it was over. And they'd be calling mommy down to the school.
The only thing I ever, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I remember this or if I have heard the story so many times that I feel like I remember it.
Mhm.
But I think I remember being in Cloverdale, California, which is between here and Clear Lake.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
we
I think
would
you guys
always
just
pull
started.
over in Cloverdale. Jolene would play volleyball in Cloverdale, I believe. But we would pull over at that stop, we'd get gas, we'd get ice cream at Foster's Springs. That was like the highlight of the trip. I'm sorry, and babe, that was the highlight of the trip, was going to get ice cream on the way to and from Clear Lake, for me. Sorry, Aunt Babe. And so as the story goes, or as my memory serves me, they let Jolene and I out of the truck to go get ice cream and gave Jolene money. And as we went to the window, they kept closing the window on Jolene. Every time she would go to the window. But when I went to the window,
they were all about serving you.
They were trying to help me.
Oh yeah, I heard Bobby say that.
And because at that time, like right now, we're very similar in skin tone. At that time, I was like milk white. Very, very pale. Like you could almost see through my little skin. I was so pale. And Jolene was much darker.
And you wore glasses.
At that time. So we were like opposite ends of the spectrum. Kind of in comparison to what we are. Like right now, people look at us and like, oh, you guys are sisters. Which one is older? She is. But back then,
You should taller than her. That's what I'm saying. This is always.
I'm talking about
It's always.
Wow. I'm the baby and I'm taller than all my siblings.
but back then, nobody believed really that we were siblings if they didn't know us or they didn't know our family because we looked that different. I looked like daddy's family, but I was mommy's color. She looked like mommy's family, but was daddy's color. So we was all over the place. So as we've gotten older, we've truly come together in the looks department, and we call each other twinsy now.
So how many fights do you think you remember getting in fights about that thing, about those type of things, and then coming back topics, and then coming back telling them what happened?
Actual fights, I think I know in El Dorado, elementary, I got in like three fights seriously about just race, about race, because I was not mature enough to just handle to respond with words. And above that, in like junior high, those weren't racial. At that point, if I got into a fight, it was more me just responding and then acting a fool.
Most definitely messing with you or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
I believe that fight that we got into the boys club was racial. I don't know why.
What happened at the Boys and Girls Club?
So, at that time, the boys and the boys clubs had always been separate, and there were no girls clubs. At the time we started going to the boys club, they incorporated a small space for girls.
Oh, so hold
And
on.
so it became the boys and
Yeah,
girls
you
club.
just
So it was separate.
No, it was just the boys club. There was no girls
But
club.
once you came around, they started changing it.
Yeah.
Around
Boys
art,
and girls.
around
I didn't know that.
that
I
time,
didn't
know
they
that.
started incorporating girls in there, and it became the boys and girls club.
Yeah, they got them
Okay.
everywhere,
So Errol and Terrell were there, and we're in the boys' gym, and then it was just Jolene and I in the girls' area. But on this particular day, Errol and Terrell went on a field trip, so it just left Jolene and I there.
So they was trying it that day.
And there was this other family from Potrero Hill, I don't even remember their name, or I would call it. But they lived in Potrero Hill, and they was just super ghetto. They was just bad as hell. They stayed in trouble. The boys, and it was boys and girls.
What year was this?
And they just,
Like
I don't
the
know,
80s?
I was probably 6 or 7, 8 maybe at oldest.
Y'all was
Late
squabbling
70s,
410.
early
That's
80s.
Yeah. But they
Squabbling 410.
They just always would mess with me, and I felt like they messed with me because I was fair skinned, and they were all very dark.
They never mess with me. They
They
always
never
mess with
messed
Norm.
with Jolene, and
They probably got too much.
they just always
Nah.
they would just pick at me and pick at me
They
and
thought
pick
you
at me.
wasn't with it.
And I've
thought
never
it was
been
racist.
somebody that bothered people. I just don't. Like I might talk smack, but I'm not putting my hands on you. I'm not gonna get in your face. Like I didn't do that. And this particular day, they decided they was gonna kick me. Me and Jolene were playing pool, and they just started kicking me.
And these are
Boys?
white boys?
Boys.
No,
No,
these
they're black.
are
They're
really
black.
these are actually very dark skinned actually
black
blacks.
people.
Okay.
And the boys started kicking me, and the girls are kind of standing around laughing. And me and Jolene are just shooting pool, and Jolene's looking at me like, well, what are you gonna
You
do?
gonna say do something, or am I gonna have to jump?
You know, and she's just kind of looking at me like, what? like I'm following your lead. What are we gonna do about that? That's what the look is telling me. And I just kept playing pool, and then one time they kicked me and something in me just snapped. And before I knew it, I had whipped the pool stick around and I was holding the small end at that point. And I just
Oh, that heavy part is coming inside your
and I
head.
knocked that little boy flat on his ass. And then the next thing you know, pool balls was flying. And
Not really
Jolene and the lady that was in the,
8 ball.
the lady that was in the center, they locked me in the office. And I had to call my mom, and they were talking about, we gonna call our mom, and we was like, no, we finna call our mom. And you don't want it, you know. And so we called our mom at work, and by the time my mom got there, they had already took them out. Cause I think the boy went to the hospital.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
She said, I don't recall and I don't care.
I was just concerned about Nora at that point, cause,
But
you know,
it was crazy, and that is like the worst fight I think I've ever gotten in. And I've never forgot that, because like I said, I don't mess with people. And so for
So when
somebody
people come
to
out of
be-
their way to mess with you, it's just
It's-
like, I don't be
it's-
bothering nobody.
It's only cracking. It's only cracking. Because I feel like I can run my mouth all day long.
Oh yeah, she got it.
Don't put your hands on me.
She got it.
Don't put your hands on me.
So what was the so I hear you guys hung out with Papa Joe a lot. How was it hanging out with him in public by you guys yourself?
I don't think it was.
I don't think we hung out with him
Was there
that
any
much
was there any
alone. But I never had any kind of negative experiences with Mama or Papa.
Oh,
now with Aunt Mary,
Yeah, that was
now with Aunt Mary, that's his sister.
She
Yeah.
wasn't feeling that?
No, we went with Aunt Mary, and she took us to a Giants baseball game.
I'm assuming she's
At
like,
Candlestick.
And we were right near a chain link fence that was separating two areas. That's how I remember the chain link
Papa
fence.
Joe.
And we were watching the game, and somebody made a comment about the black kid, and they had no clue that she was black because she's too fair skinned.
most definitely.
Next thing I know, she done whipped her purse and cockeyed.
And they called her a nigger.
She whipped the strap out?
You can't say that.
Yes.
You can't say that on here.
Oh.
You can't
They called her the N-word.
you have to
Hard
mouth
R.
it. You can't
sorry.
you can't just
Okay, you can just mute that part out.
You ain't got to
The
beat
viewer
But-
sound.
clip it.
But
We're
all
gonna
I
figure it
know,
out. We're gonna figure it out.
They called her a beep.
Yeah, you just can't.
well,
Yeah, I think
all
we
I
do
know
that.
is that he got the tail end. He got the smart end of her purse. She wasn't playing it.
Oh, she walked him with the
She
purse?
wasn't playing.
Wait a minute, she whopped him,
Period.
and when she hit him, his glasses flew off and flew up under the cyclone fence, and he couldn't get his glasses.
And now you lying and got a lump on your head because you was running your mouth.
She wasn't playing it. She was not
Because you was
playing.
running your mouth.
You know, he thought
Now you
because
can't
she was a
see
little
in
older
here.
that he just say what he wanted to say. No,
Oh,
he wasn't.
no.
But she wasn't
Brandon
doing
used to
that.
be
And I know they used to carry around them long purse with the handle.
She got to do
Wait
that
a minute,
right.
her purse, the purse she had,
Keep that.
I'm gonna tell you how cold it was. The
Have
purse
it in
she
that
had,
wall.
with, you know, crochet knitting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was crocheted, but it had beer, do you remember this? It was made of beer cans
Oh, I remember
and
that.
crochet. So the beer cans were like
Yeah,
cut
hats
in
like
half,
that.
and it was like little holes,
Yeah, so they could stitch
cut
it in
into
there.
the beer can,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was stitched through the holes in the beer can. So when he got mollywopped, he
Yeah.
got mollywopped with a purse full of beer cans and whatever she had in her purse went upside his head and knocked his glasses off his
And
face.
couldn't get the glasses.
She messed his ass up.
I'm trying to visualize that purse.
It was all
Yeah,
good.
purse
And Mary was all
crazy.
that was all Mary. It was all
Yeah,
good.
they
purse
used to
sound.
make hats like that, see.
Yep. She had the hat.
Yeah.
She had the hat and the purse. Yep.
They knocked the glasses. He knocked the
But
glasses off.
I
That
just
just
know-
made my forehead hurt.
I just know though, as growing up though, Daddy and Mommy really made an effort to shelter Nora and I from that. So we didn't really see or experience that until we were old enough to really to deal with it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Other than little ignorant kids who just say shit.
But by then
You know.
it was kind of over, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean by then it was like we were old enough to deal with it. But as kids growing up, we knew nothing of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they made sure we like if whatever that
Yeah,
happened.
kinda had the bias of both
They
worlds.
told us about that later. Oh, by the way, you experienced this when you were a kid. We didn't. We don't, but we had no clue.
Most definitely.
And y'all had both sides in the world, so
Mhm.
it really wasn't. I don't think y'all probably had it bad.
I tell you when I did deal with it though, I don't know if you remember this. Was it you? We were at the old people's home at the retirement.
Oh, yeah.
Out
This
there.
is when Digimon was out
Yes,
there?
in
For real?
Daly City.
Yes.
Oh, it must have been an older lady
Oh, they
there.
was happy with it.
You know them like
I don't think you were there, Dante.
Nah, probably I wasn't.
I think it was
I know it was a lot of older people
maybe
there
Warren
that
or
was
Zachary,
around
because
the
I used
age.
to have them with me the most, because they was always getting in some trouble.
Cat.
I had a question though before you get into that.
Uh-huh.
Do you think your relationship, our relationship with Poppy was like better than your relationship with Papa Joe?
What do you mean?
Like you
Word,
know how
say
we
it's
how
close
you know
to
how
Papa Joe.
Poppy was with us.
Yeah, he take y'all places, have y'all.
How was
I
y'all?
was close to Papa. You gotta realize
It was different.
it was different.
It
It
was
was
different.
different. Papa was a different kind of a person. I think
He
Poppy was
most definitely
more
was a different type of breed.
Poppy
for
was
sure.
more hands on
Mhm.
and integral in your life for sure. But
Integral as far as one.
your
to
day to
one.
day, your day to day life,
Yeah.
you know, he was more involved in that, and he took a concerted effort in making sure that he instilled in part of himself in you.
Most definitely.
Right.
That was a key focus for my dad.
You for sure did.
And Papa Joe was more.
I remember Papa Joe too. though.
Papa Joe was the sweetest person ever, and he would never let you know. He didn't want people. It was almost like he didn't want people to know how soft-hearted and kind he was.
He was quiet.
But he was more of a provider
Mm.
and spent more time sort of
Thinking.
behind the and a caregiver, thinking and doing,
Oh, he loved me.
and was always. He made sure we never wanted for anything.
Mm-hmm.
He loved
We
me.
spent a lot of time at his house with
Yes.
Digimon and
And,
him,
and we never wanted
And we-
for anything.
and
Did he
we
play
always
chess?
have fun.
And like,
I don't know.
or like,
I don't know, because I didn't like chess. I wasn't in the game, so I don't know.
I just remember, you know, he would always we would get together as a family. We'd be down there playing cards, or we'd be back there singing on the piano. Mama would be playing the piano, or even the organ. We'd be back there singing. We sit around, they'd be drinking, and we'd just be talking. And we were always invited to be part of those conversations. We were never excluded from that.
All of that was very important.
Yeah, we were
That
all
we
part of that
had-
conversation.
did anybody ever know how to play them things, the organs?
Yep.
Or was they
Digimon
just
did.
there?
Digimon did.
And Jane.
Oh,
And
okay.
Jane
Had
did
to
too,
play
yeah.
the piano.
That's the
But
wonder
Digimon
why they-
actually knew how to play. She taught us how to play, but I didn't pick that up. I didn't keep that.
I do have another question touching on that topic right there. I feel like you guys' generation, I don't know if I'm not gonna say it's anybody's fault, but I feel like our generation are not as close. Cause I felt that at the family reunion.
It's the times fall.
It's a different
I felt that like me, Mac, everybody growing up, we're not as close as you guys are. And I'm not
It
gonna
was-
say it's
it
you
was
guys'
different.
fault.
It was
but
different.
No.
Definitely a different time.
It's
But you
I
gotta-
say it's
But
a-
also, but
you know what it is? It's like a social media
It's the world.
takeover because everybody was doing their own. You know what I mean? Other than playing football together, that's all y'all did. Y'all got together, y'all was on the
I feel like
phone
it's the world.
playing the game, or y'all was separated sometimes.
But also keep in mind though that literally we all grew up in the same zip code.
Right.
Most definitely.
Okay, so and the ones that were not physically housed in the zip code spent the majority of their lifetime in the zip code.
Yeah.
So like I never went to school without an Oliver either in my class or in my grade.
Right.
Like me and Brian were in the same class from as far as I can remember.
Yeah, everybody was
You know,
separated.
and any school I went through from kindergarten up until middle school, they were asking me about my cousins or my brother that came before me because we all had the same last name with the exception of Tony because she's her mother was a female. Everybody else had dads. They were the brothers and sisters. You know, so we literally, I mean, it was a joke, but it's real. We literally peed on each other. We were all in the same. We all be at grandmommy's house in the same bed. So one pee, and everybody got pee on them. You know, we all getting in the bathtub. You know, so we literally grew up between
That's
we
both sides.
grew up on Brussels.
And,
You know-
and you have to take into consideration, we came up at the end of an era where families depended on one another in order to make it.
Mm-hmm.
They came together to survive.
Mm-hmm.
We are the end of that era and the beginning of the new era when people started branching out and being independent and doing things on their own
It's
and
always
coming into their own. And so we're kind of in the middle of those two generations. You guys are very much in a generation where people are doing things on their own and they're branching out and they're going out and getting it
Mm-hmm.
and they're making it on their own.
Cause I feel like people starting to understand like how the world is now. But you gotta think, like back in Grammy times when she met Poppy, everything was cheaper. You feel me?
But
So,
everything is relative.
It may seem cheaper compared to us, but
right,
not cheap to
but
them.
they had to work. It was still the same thing, but right, you're right. At that time, they probably were like the wage wasn't as much on top of that. But still, like you gotta think now, like if you guys had, like you was staying with your mom, he was staying with his mom. They had family, y'all had family, everybody had family. We can come together on this big house in this rent.
Most definitely.
Everybody in this house working. Everybody do construction loan or whatever everybody was doing. We got football players, athletes. We got all type of stuff. Whole teams. We don't got that nowadays. You gotta think they was 21 and was married, and then they moved and had their own spot.
Most definitely.
That don't happen a lot now.
You're right.
You got people that have babies and be like, damn, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't ready for no baby, and cut on the female. It's a whole bunch of stuff that falls into it. His daddy probably wasn't there, so he don't know how to, and vice versa, drugs. People have babies and then string out on drugs.
Most definitely.
I think also just
it's just the economy.
That's a part of it.
part of the economy, part of the economy thing is too, is that, realize we grew up in San Francisco, and when we grew up, we couldn't afford to buy property in San Francisco. So everybody was forced to spread out.
Either that or
We had to.
That's what they're doing now.
Yeah, so unless you already have property here,
And it is the place
property's already bought out here. It's hard to find a ton of
Yeah,
property.
San Francisco is
Either the city
so
own it or it's
it's
already
gonna
been
stay
owned for
high
like
value,
centuries
too.
already.
that plays a
so
part in
all
it, too.
your generation,
We just
for the
grew up
most
with
part, because we had property here for you guys to stay, y'all got to stay, but everybody else
Had to
didn't,
move.
and they moved out. Just because that's the only way for them to own a house, or to find enough room for them to have a decent size for their families.
Most definitely. Where was you finna jump on? You was at the old lady and us and things. The
Yeah,
budget.
We were at the senior retirement, senior living facility with visiting great grandmother. It was me and Gigi Mom. I think great grandmother, I think she was there. And I had a couple of you guys with me, and one of the white women that was living there made a comment about the little black kids, and she used the R word, referring to you guys, and she kept doing it. And I heard her. Zachary was there, but I think you were too. And I heard her, and I told her, shame on you. How dare you say that to a little kid, to a child. And I chastised her, and grandmother couldn't hear it because, she didn't hear well. She couldn't hear what was said, and I snatched you guys up and said, let's go. And so when we got outside, and I wheeled great grandmother out, and when we got outside, like, she was pissed.
Who?
Great grandmother.
Wait, how did you told her?
I told her because she wanted to know why we left, why I
Okay.
packed her up and packed the kids up, and why I was so angry. So I ended up telling her, I didn't want to tell her, but I had to tell her what happened. And so I don't know what conversation was had, if any, after that. But, it was still happening even when you guys were
Socialized, it
babies.
was normalized back in the day, so
Yeah.
you get a bunch of people
She-
who put in a.
And you know, when they get older, they get
We stepping away
senile
from
in
back-
some
back-
cases.
And
Yeah,
they
And they
time there.
regress.
people.
They regress back into an earlier
Everything, but they're
time.
not
Okay.
racist.
And who knows, that might have just been her way. She might have been like that her whole life.
That's what I was
So
gonna say, she
you
probably
never
was.
know. But it goes to show you that
They racist, and don't like black people.
it's still there.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Is there anything else y'all wanna talk about when it comes to racism? And
Yeah,
and things of that nature?
did Gigi Ma or Papa Joe ever talk about racism when they were little? I mean, as far as slavery.
Right.
Daddy used to tell about the time he worked at the train station. He was a red cap, and he said
What's your red cap?
they had a lynching down there.
Basically,
What is a red cap?
Like a
It's like
porter.
a porter.
Yeah.
Porter.
You make sure you got your tickets right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
help you with the bag.
And
Oh,
and
yeah,
luggage
okay.
and all that stuff.
take it.
But I mean, as far as like, well, I know beyond like their mother and father, the whips and chains and all that crap. None of that. That's what I was saying.
One question.
It was too far back.
It was too far back.
Yeah.
Was any of Papa Joe's people like slave owners? Cause in
On
their
that
time,
part, yeah,
it was
it is
all. It was that time.
Cause Gigi Mama was born in 1919,
They
so
were
I
Papa
know
Joe
before
people?
that, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, they just said
I know
that.
they was wild back then, 1919.
Now that
Yeah.
American, that's why I say
Yeah,
a
they
lot of
folks.
what
Well,
they
sure.
calling us the African American, we were
Negroes.
American Indians,
Right.
and they just changed that term and made us something or whatever. Because we surely couldn't be too
I wonder why
conscious.
they went to Nigga.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was the thing. Because I never asked my grandmother, but that was something they never talked about.
He was
And
in
what they
Texas.
considered slavery was them going to work because they had to pick cotton to make money.
Right.
Because they had to go to an apple orchard and be out there to make money.
When you was a kid, was it racist?
I was about to say, pause, how was it in Texas?
Man, in Texas was
I didn't
crazy.
got to
Houston,
my
Texas
wife
was
was
crazy.
crazy football
That's the
practice.
sound.
They be out there.
Me and my buddy.
Yeah, the racism out there in the South was
But
like.
Is that-
they just turned that school from all white to it was mixed.
Is that one of the
We was
reasons
there after
you
school.
guys moved out here?
No,
No, because you was still out there when you was a kid in
Yeah.
your teenage years.
I went all the way through high school, but that was like the junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
First started playing it, we did in a predominantly halfway all white neighborhood. Started going to mixed little. Well, all our school had just became mixed. Because my mother was like, "You're not gonna go to school where your brother and them went to because it was all black."
Mm-hmm.
And as far as she could tell, it wasn't a good thing. So she was like, "You going to the such and it was, half and half." So diversity was that. In that neighborhood, it was all rich white people.
Mm-hmm.
And them kids came out, them guys came out to us like, oof. After school, after coming home from practice, I ain't never ran so hard down the ditches and ducking crazy weeds and behind people's houses to get away from the dudes.
I want to know where they are now.
And they was egging us out the whole time, just throwing eggs.
I was just gonna just add that, Gigi Mom,
Nah, I don't think
She,
they call it. I don't think they call it that. He kind of whispered it.
He ready to flip.
But the thing
But-
is,
I mean, you know how to edit, right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I was
But
gonna
still,
say-
we doing it too many times.
All right,
I was gonna say, even today, in some southern cities and towns, you cannot be there. Like they
Called
want
sundown
you to
towns.
be
Yeah,
there.
They just talked
And that's how I feel like.
Sundown towns.
And that's how I felt about going to Lincoln. Because it's a whole bunch of Asians and white folks over there. So I really couldn't. I mean, I did whatever I wanted in Sunset. But at the same time, I most definitely got them looks like, why is he over here? Why is he hanging around over here? Like, you're not supposed to be over here. So I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
so I can, so let me give you two things. Number one, when I was living in LA, my husband at the time, he would get off work at FedEx at like, midnight, 1 o'clock, and he'd be walking. We'd be in Torrance, which is primarily an Asian and white city, and he'd be walking up our street, be on our street, going towards our house, our apartment, and he got stopped by the same two cops 2 nights in a row because he was walking while black.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Oh,
pulled him
yeah.
over, asked him where he's going. He showed him his license. His license has an address in Torrance, a block and a half up.
I can
That
see
they
that.
stopped him in the same place like 2 nights later. That is straight racism.
Yeah.
Then I
Most likely
had,
took the address down off the.
so
I'm
you know,
sorry.
so it is still very blatant.
Well, definitely.
I remember living in Beverly Hills. Well, when I went to UCLA, one of mom and dad's friends lived in Beverly Hills, and so I would spend a lot of time there because they had a son that call him my play brother, Craig. And so his mother would buy and lease older Mercedes. So any given day, he'd be driving a nice new fresh Mercedes, different one.
Yeah, I know you.
So he would recall how he was often followed by cops through Beverly Hills because now you see a very dark-skinned black man driving a nice Mercedes in Beverly Hills.
He don't
So
care.
we like literally, it was like his thing to ditch the cops. He like pull into somebody's driveway and turn the car off and just sit there. But we got stopped one night. We're driving down La Cienega, I'll never forget, and the cop pulled us over, and we had done nothing wrong, and he claimed we ran a red light, which we did not. So we pull over, and he's asking Craig all these questions, and I'm over, Chica, stop. And I'm having a hissy fit, trying my best not to say nothing. And they had Craig all out the car, and hands on the hood, the whole deal, asking stuff. They ran the plates. Of course, the car belonged to him. And meanwhile, there is this man, a white man, sitting outside on his stairs because we're in front of his house. So the cops, of course, we asked him, who said we ran? Because we know he says, one of his partners saw him us run the light. I said, where your partners at? Because we didn't run a light. They must come talking about some other car. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And so finally, they couldn't. Obviously, we didn't run a light. So they finally was gonna let us go. So this guy comes down to the cops leave. He comes down and he coached us. He was like, number one, you never get out your car. Because they didn't have any reason to pull him out of his car. If he ran a red light, why are you pulling him out of his car? Okay, especially if I can show you registration and my license and insurance for the vehicle that I'm driving. There's no reason for you to pull me out the car. You didn't smell alcohol. There's no drugs in the car. You think there was drugs in the car. There's no reason for you to get out your car. Now you start asking for badge numbers and you need your supervisor out here on the scene. If you have an attorney, you call your attorney. That's what you do. He was like, because he displayed racism, and he was like, yeah, you just got punked because you're black. So it
I
is.
know that's all everybody out there then.
Right, but
Racial profiling.
big time,
Beverly
big time.
Hills too is crazy.
But just back to Gigi Ma though, because truthfully, I know you guys were a little confused because Mom is so fair, Gigi Ma was so fair, Papa was so fair. It took me a while before I realized that Mommy was black. Even I was like, okay, maybe she is white, but she's my mama. I couldn't care less. So yeah, it was me. But Gigi Ma actually spent a lot of time researching her ancestry, and she actually went back to Arkansas, which is where she found the slave records. She actually has copies of registers because they apparently back in Arkansas they cut good records of their slaves. So she has traced her ancestry, our ancestry on that side of the family, back to slavery in Arkansas. So she had all those documents.
What they were doing
So they had her side of the family had slaves.
I might have land
No, they
down
were
there.
slaves.
They were slaves. Okay.
slaves.
They
So
were.
they were slaves.
No, that's
Crazy.
Your mama might have land down there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
That's
the
crazy.
records showing who they were at the time.
So
Do
yeah,
you
they
feel like that's
They
one of the
took it.
reasons why they're so fair skinned?
Well, obviously there's a lot of mixture in there. Clearly, I mean, the fact that my last name is Oliver tells you there's some English in there somewhere. So and Jordan, those are all Anglo names. So yeah, so there's definitely some mixture in there. I know there's a full-blooded Indian, a minimum on grandmommy's side. There's a picture of him somewhere with full headdress. So we got a lot of stuff in us, I know grandmommy would speak about and daddy man about their parents literally with the marks on them from being beat. So it's not that it's closer, on Poppy's side.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot further on Mommy's side. But it was there.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Take your
Absolutely.
finger off.
That's crazy. This was definitely about that time.
This bitch, you gotta cut out all the N words.
Yep, most definitely. Well, SMB gang, this was a hot topic, for real, for real. We're gonna have to do a part 2 for you guys, because like she said, we have other opinions and things and other people we want to bring on here to get that ring situation figured out. Because we gotta get that figured out. I'm trying to figure out how that even happened.
And things of that nature.
And things.
She's catching on to the lingo. She's catching on to the lingo. Mental health for sure, all that. But we're gonna hit y'all in a minute, and you know, that's us. We out.
Peace out.
We out.